Alright, so today I'm going to talk about the best items in PvP at this very time. I'm not talking about over the history of the game or what was good back then, what's good now, and all that stuff. Just what's good now, in my opinion. I'm picking the best items, in my opinion. Now, I looked at the list once I was done compiling it, and I noticed it's all five of the things I'm using. I guess that's kind of a coincidence because obviously I'm only going to use what I think are the best items in the game when I go to PvP. And I have a decent selection of items. I see what other people use, and I actually made a post in the Avengers League about 2 days ago where I asked everybody, what do you think the best items are? It's been about 3 days now. It's been a while since I made a video. So, we are just going to take a look now and see exactly what items I'm talking about. Now, you see I'm sitting here with a Warbringer axe. And if you're thinking this is number 5 in my list, because I'll be working in reverse order, then you're incorrect. The reason why I have this on my screen is because I think it's overrated. Now, it's not something that you really see anybody run on defense anymore, and there's a reason why. Honestly, when you look at it, it's kind of just damage. It gives all your allies Warbringer, but you can get Warbringer from Hulk, Shatterstar, and Hogan. Now, I don't think anybody's going to be running Shatterstar and Hogan because they're melee scrappers. And one of them's melee scrappers with two classes. So that's particularly dangerous. Um, X-23 as well. She's a bruiser. You could run her if you really wanted it. But I don't think anybody really wants it that bad to where they're going to run, a Warbringer-based character. It's really not just that strong right now. You can cleanse it off. You can neutralize them. Either one of those totally destroys it. And it just kind of, it really just doesn't do much of anything anymore. It's pretty much now, it's just, let me swing it and here's some damage. It's pretty good. It ignores the defense stat. But that's it. And I don't think that's good enough to be put in the list. So I'm going to continue with the items that I just wanted to mention in passing as I go through. So, the next one is the synthetic cube. Oddly enough, this didn't make my top 5, and to be honest, it came extremely close. Obviously, I mean, it's one of the best items in the game. I just don't think it's one of the top 5 best items. The utility it gives you is great. I mean, no one's gonna lie about that. You got the Blackest Void. It's disoriented and removes all status, beneficial statuses. And it's not magic, so it can't just be resisted. You have the Light Fantastic, 3-round cooldown. Pretty much heals you, and then prevents you from being hit by one attack, because you're just going to absorb it and heal. That's really strong. Improbability field, it's an okay, it's an okay thing to get buffs and debuffs on you. But your chance of actually getting a lot of anything is honestly really small, due to the way they've changed how pressure points and things like that work in Rising Up. It only gives you, like, one of the lamest things for free, and then you have, like, a 15% chance for everything else. Just so you can't activate one of these and not get anything. That's really why that was done. And then Atom Smasher, for some reason, these guys are still debuffed while you hit them hard. So, if you have Pestilence and you hit them with this, well, you're probably debuffed too. You're probably not going to do that much damage. And otherwise, if you're not Pestilence, they probably remove them. If they have Invisible Woman, you can't apply them, so on and so forth. Uh, the 20% avoidance chance is good, though. And honestly, the functions that it does have, they're honestly good, but they're all not quick actions. Now, you can run Tactician Safeguard with Snappy Service, and then 3 of the 4 actions are quick action. But that forces you to use the suit that's not really the agent's primary suit that they're running in the meta today, so then that sucks. But overall, the item is good. I'm not saying it's bad. Okay, 1 second. Boom. This works too. Alright, so this is another one of the runner-up, I guess, items, or one of the items I wanted to mention. I think this still is the best healing item in the game. And I suppose if you really felt particularly annoying, you could get like 2 or 3 of these and just like spam them during your turns. I imagine your team would be nearly unkillable at that point. Without actually just wiping somebody out in one hit. It'd be great for a defensive setup if you just wanted to make somebody mad and make them waste a lot of time. But despair isn't very common anymore. Like, you don't see everybody running around with Gamora. And even when people ran around with the Neuro Purge, it still didn't, apply the despair that often. So it wasn't a big problem. But, having a heal with a healing over time and extra healing buff, that's really strong. So pretty much if you have a finest hour based character, that's a buff. And, it seems like any amount of healing things you have, like different healing things stack. So if you have like uh, molecular reconstruction and then you hit them with blessed renewal and blessing, well, you're not going to lose um, you're not going to lose Wonder Man anytime soon, but that's 2 finest hour buffs that he has for free. One of which is unremovable with an AI, so that's actually pretty nice. But yeah, when it comes to healing items, I think this is the best one you can still get. You can get it anytime you want. It's permanent, so I like it. It's just not one of the best items in the game. Okay, so our next item that we're just gonna look at is it would do this to me, wouldn't it? Oh, I'm stupid. I'm stupid. My bad. It goes in there. Haha. I knew that. The signpost. This shouldn't be a terrible surprise because I think this is honestly, if I did the top 5 list based on things that were the best items throughout time, uh, this is probably it, followed by like the cube. Um, yeah, it's a quick action, so you only use one quick action per turn now. But beforehand, it was just pretty much your agent gets free healing every turn and damage over time reduction at the cost of being poisoned. And no one really cares about being poisoned that much because you're taking half damage from that poison, and then if they stack any amount of dots on you, well, you're taking half damage from those, and you heal every turn. Like you're just gaining the entire time. There's no real negative effect. And until they actually introduced things like exhaust and things like that, there really was no penalty to disactivating this thing. It's been a good item, and during that one time where Null was out of control, it was obviously like the best thing to stack meteors on people. Because it's a subtle quick action that's unavoidable. And back then there was no limit to how many of those things you could, use per turn. So I actually had a setup where I had 3 quick action subtle magic attacks that applied to the whole team, and then 1 AoE magic attack. So there was really no escape. You were just going to get hit. Alright, and this is the last runner-up item, the Hugin's Eye. I mean, this shouldn't really be much of a surprise. It, it was so absurd. When it came out, I was really just thinking to myself, there's no way in the world you possibly think something like this is okay. This item originally invalidated every unarmed character in the game that wasn't stealthy. And even if you were stealthy, if it was just you and the guy with a Hugin's Eye on, you lost. You just can't hit him anymore. That's corny. So they changed it to a very high chance to avoid unarmed attacks, which I guess is cool, but it was still stupid to do that to begin with. I'm not sure why they thought it was okay. But, removing True Strike from attacks is pretty corny. And this really made tanks insane. And all you had to do is have some way of, preventing ranged attacks, and then you were straight. I mean, like most attacks just either can't touch you, or you absorb because everybody had the that PvP fist item that absorbed when you attacked. I can't remember the name. And you get hit, you absorb, you cheese out the enemy, and it's pretty much nothing they can do. Like they can't hit you, but you're absorbing. I don't understand how that works. Because I thought they said they were going to make it so counters don't work like that. I guess that doesn't count as a counter, and even counters still actually work like that. They don't actually have to touch you for you to counter. So I don't know. I guess they changed their mind. Um, but yeah, dodging melee gives you many shot. That's just like a little extra bonus. It's not really something you think about, but you just get increased damage on your next range attack. So I'm going to go ahead and start the actual list of items that I think are the best in the game. And I'm going to do my best to explain why they actually made it in the list. So the first one, which is one I've actually had some disagreement with people on, but I'm going to try my best to explain why. And it's the Grace Note. Now, the damage on it is pretty good. It takes quite a bit of stamina. But there's lots of good things about it. So let me try to go through that list really quick. So, it exploits a lot of things, a lot of opportunity. And the opportunity is really strong right now. You know, if you can't really corner most of the tanks because they have Bruiser Safeguard and they're immune to corner. But you can exhaust, impair, neutralize. Well, you can't neutralize those guys, but off balance, staggered, and winded. And there's really few people who are immune to any of these things. Like, okay, so if you fight Medusa, she's immune to these. I'm sure all you forgot that she was even in the game, but she's immune to opportunity last time I checked. Um, Staggered, if you're like Nightcrawler or Squirrel Girl, you're immune. Winded, if you are Hogun with his EISO, you're immune to this and that. Impaired, blaster safeguard. Any of the safeguards will protect you against the appropriate debuff. But other than that, nearly everybody else in the game is affected by these. And if you apply Opportunist, you always get staggered. And staggered is really good. So, you pretty much pinpoint them with could arguably be one of the best and most accessible pinpoint abilities in the game. You hit them with staggered. Just from Opportunist or something that actually applies staggered, and then you just do a lot of damage. It exploits webs, but it also applies webs. So there you go. You can't complain. It exploits stuns. The stuns are pretty common. And it also comes with a free preemptive attack. So the main reason why I have it as the best, number 5 best item in the game is because when you think about it, this is a ranged weapon with insane exploit potential, but also still with some utility. Like, webbed is some of the best utility in the game. Still. They lose evasion, which is probably the least interesting thing about it, because if you really staggered them first, it doesn't matter. But when their attacks do 20% less and they can't crit, that really shuts people down. This is bonus. This isn't even necessary. This is bonus stuff. That's just stuff to make it better. We're not really concerned with this because honestly, you're probably not running any more pieces of the set because you don't have to. And the preemptive attack is just something nice to have for free. Pretty much if someone attacks you in this procs, they've lost damage. So this is like protecting your team even further, but in the form of a gun that does damage. And if they can't attack you and they have quite a bit of this opportunity or web or stun on them, well, they're gone. They probably died. It does a ton of damage from exploiting. And I don't see, honestly, looking through the rest of the commonly used weapons in the game, I just don't see any of them comparing. The closest I think I got was the Relentless Rapier, and that kind of requires other pieces of the set to really be strong. And it's melee. It's not ranged. And right now, range is just better than melee. You don't want to be absorbed. So that's pretty much why it gets there. Um, so number 4, I have done. Oh, come on. Weather control device. Also, is the CNC or whatever the thing is called that the kids play with, because that's clearly what it is. It's a Family Guy reference where they had a device that looked like that. I think it actually controlled the weather in the show too. But the reason why this is here and the cube is not is well, it's kind of interesting. So let me explain. So you have first, you got all these actions are quick actions on the weather control device, regardless of what suit you're wearing or anything. So I view that as a plus. It is, it does damage on 2 of its things that are catastrophic. That's a little bit of a plus too. But the main thing is when you look at what it applies, or what it heals. Not really what it heals, but how. Okay, let me just work on these 2 first. So this is attrition. This is paragon. This is opportunity. This is attrition. This is attrition. And here's some more opportunity. So no matter which one of those you picked, it's actually going to be pretty decent to help you exploit. So if you have any exploit weapon or character, just touching them with their weather control device will apply things that you need. So pretty much if you need more attrition, you'll probably hailstorm them over fire tornado. But when you look at what it actually applies, like I'm always going to get exhaust. I'm always going to get winded. And those are really good. Like a lot of characters now, they resist burning, chilled, or bleeding. If you fight Null, he can't bleed. Colossus. Thing, I guess. If you're fighting Thing, any mechanical person, I think most of them can't. Chilled and burning, pretty much all the worthies and um, Asgardians, they're all immune to that stuff. But no one's really, like, barely anything is immune to exhaust or winded. So that makes exhausted and winded really strong. And with people taking a lot of turns and all their turns really messing you up, having exhausted on a 1 turn cooldown is amazing. So take that, Enchantress. Then, to handle those Noir and Union Jack, Rocket Raccoon teams, you have a catastrophic winded that will pretty much shut the entire team down. And once you touch them with this, there's just no way they can win. With the strategy that they're based around, the game's over. Seriously, it's just done. Now, the last consideration that made me put this over the synthetic cube significantly was the fact that the heal, while it's not necessarily as good, it's on a shorter cooldown and it's available from the first turn and it's quick action. All of that stuff together kind of beats the fact that, okay, I can do it the second turn, use it, and then I can't use it for 3 more turns. Well, no, you can just use it 2 more turns later. I consider that a significant advantage. So when you go through and you look through, the skills, I really feel like that's just better. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next item, because that's pretty much all I needed to say about that. Now, this next item I have a lot to say about. Well, not really a lot, but it's really worth saying. Now, I'm sure you thought one of these items was going to be in there, and number 3 is the Hexenjäger. I didn't get this the first time around because at that time it wasn't that useful. The second time it came around, it was it was just simply the best item. It was one of the best items in the game. I mean, there's no reason that you wouldn't want this. And if you look at a lot of high level teams, I swear, if you don't have this, you have Skeptic. So that means that one of those two is the best item, close to the best item in the game. So the whole deal with this is mainly that it applies Pentecostal Oath, which gives all your allies magic warding, and when you die, like your agent dies, it doesn't go away if you have Pentecostal Oath, which is silly. I don't understand why that's different. And as far as I know, Skeptic doesn't work like that, or at least it didn't. I don't know if they changed it. I don't feel like they did. But that's how it worked last time I checked. So this pretty much another one of those take that Enchantress items. But also, when they made Null's meteors count as magic, this shut them out. And honestly, that was probably one of the best balance changes I think they've ever made since they've made this game. That was just necessary. There's no getting around it. They made a monster when they first put Null in the game. This applying to meteors, it left him still in a good spot, but he wasn't free to win the game. Like if you had him in your team, I got to about 2,835, I think, was my highest rating in PvP, and that was with Null and Black Knight. And honestly, Black Knight wasn't doing anything. It was just Null throwing down the meteors, and like I was saying earlier, my agent was using multiple quick action magic items just to stack everything up on you. And by the time the agent and Null got done with their turn, you had at least 4 stacks on everybody, maybe 5. You lost. I mean, the game's over. There's nothing you can do at that point. And this stopped that. So you don't have to worry about it anymore. Now you can win, defense a little bit more often, but you can definitely, go into offense and not be Enchantress down. You can't be, Null down. But the problem is, this is where I think items start to get overwhelmingly busted. And there's only 4 of them that I really feel need serious reworks in how they work or serious consideration to new characters that get added to the game. If you buy this and you put it in your gear, there is no magic character that can beat you. And that's just plain and simple. If someone's like, I want to make a magic-based team, let's say I'm Baron Mordo, Doctor Strange. Okay, you lose. Because there's no way you can get around this stuff. Cower is pretty nice. That's more like bonus. Because really what you're trying to apply is hot seat when you shoot people. And there's quite a few items that just have a good passive but not a good active. This is both. You apply hot seat, and then every time they do a magic attack, they lose all their buffs because they get soulfire. Assuming they're not magic warded. And then they take damage when they use magic. Now, this debuff in itself is not magic. Why? I'm not sure. But it's not magical. So, if they have magic warding and you shoot them with this, they won't get soulfire, but they'll burn. They lose 20% of their health from what I had looked up. And, burning, it's something. But that's really strong. And, when Baron Mordo came out, it was really to the point where, this item was so often used in PvP to where as soon as he came out, I was just like, okay, he's not useful. Without even looking at his skill set. Because I'm like, he's going to be magic. And he can't beat something that defeats his whole design. Same thing for Elsa Bloodstone. She falls into the same problems. And it's really just to the point where if you have this, you've literally shut down all potential of competition of magic characters. There's nothing else in the game, really, that shuts down somebody so hard. So to keep the Take That Enchantress train running along, I'm sure this will be no surprise. I sure hope you did well in the last season, because the Dark Energy Blade is the #2 best item in the game. All this stuff under the special properties, we don't care. So we're just going to skip over that. It's not even important. What you care about is the passives. This is one of those items where the active's bad. It's not bad. It's just not useful. But the passives are great. So it's a single target protect. Everybody's running. Well, nearly everybody's running uh, bruiser safeguards or bruiser empowered armors with the bruiser elite ISO. Because there's no reason to run anything else. If you run something else, you're literally just disadvantaging yourself. It doesn't even matter if they have a team of 3 blasters. No one's really doing that. And if they do, well, you still take considerably lower damage. Um, when you're attacked, or you interrupt an attack, you have a chance to gain an extra turn. And seriously, extra turns are never bad. I mean, that's just the nature of extra turns. They're great. But the thing that makes it really shine is dominate the weak and deflect. Pretty much, deflect applies to ranged attacks, and if you deflect, you do damage back to the attacker, and they get interrupted. Now, it will attempt to interrupt counters and follow-ups, but it won't stop them. But you'll still hit them, so that's something. Dominate the weak prevents buff and debuff actions and it applies mind control. That is silly because you don't have to actually target people. You obviously can't target people with buff attacks that are on the other team. But it stops people from doing simple stuff like healing themselves or using scrolls and things like that. But it also prevents you from, like, let's say if you're Winter Soldier, you can't throw mines on people. And then we want to look over here. Oh, you can't look over here because I'm just going to read what I had written down. It's another one of those take that Enchantress items. Because think about what her moveset is. Ranged, you can counter that. Debuff, you can counter that. Debuff, you can counter that. Ranged, you can counter that. Once again, this is another item that just, honestly, like, the fact that nearly everybody high level is using this, honestly should take Enchantress out of the tier list. It's just that strong. But then you look at Karuth, Spider-Woman's worthy, and you have melee, ranged, debuff, debuff. So 3 out of 4 things that she does gets prevented by this item. And there's really not a lot that counters her in general. So to have anything that does, and something that's that profound that counters her, is actually, that's amazing. Now, she's still gonna be pretty good because if she does actually touch you with any of her debuffs, you're pretty much done for the entire fight. Like your damage is cut in half forever until you kill her. Which killing her is the hard part. Doesn't exactly happen all the time. So you're probably wondering. Oh, you shouldn't really be wondering what the best item in the game is, but you might be, because I know somebody actually on the in the group they they guessed like 4 of the 5 or something like that. I think they were just unsure on what the last one was, which was the Grace Note, but they had like everything else. Because I was like, one is a gold seal item, one is a gold seal bonus, things like that, and they were just like, oh, it's Rudamaroth, it's Dark Energy Blade, it's Hexenjäger, and they just went through the list, and I was just like, I guess I can't fool you guys. Yeah, number 1 is the Scroll of Rudamaroth. If you doubted that, you don't have one of these or you've just never seen it. So, this item has only one real counter, and that's the Luna Sea. And that's only somewhat of a counter. Well, and I guess Dark Energy Blade, because that can counter it. But, one of them's the number 2 item in the game that counters it, and the other one, it's just kind of a silly addition that I don't understand. So, well, I understand it. I just don't understand why they thought something that permanently turned off subtle and other functions like that from your skills with no chance of being removed. That's stupid. So, this is a quick action. That's always great. This is subtle. That's always great. It applies opportunist, and this is probably one of the best things about the item because opportunist always applies staggered every time. So you just have a 15% chance to get all of this. Once again, that's bonus. This is what you really want because when you apply staggered, you can't miss. Pretty much. I mean, unless they're phased. But under normal conditions, you're always going to hit your targets. You don't need accuracy anymore. The only thing accuracy does is boost your crit rate at that point. But you don't really need that because all you need to do is make sure you hit people. And if you have a blaster, you can always make sure they crit anyways because you can just turn on uh, whatever they call it, primed and ready or whatever. So staggered is god. Like it's probably one of the best debuffs in the game. It applies slowed to yourself. You just lose some evasion. Who cares? Who's really evading that much anyway? Um. So yeah, the other part is that being that you're slowed, it always applies manipulated, and this is honestly one of the best debuffs in the game. Because once you have that on, you can't remove debuffs. So it's like being pestilence or having pestilence on your team, but he's only affecting the other team. Like he's not touching yours. That's great because now, if you fight somebody like an invisible woman team with air pressure, well, she can't prevent your debuffs. If you fight um, Iron Fist, you can get around. Well, he doesn't prevent debuffs anymore, but he can't remove them either. Like nobody can remove them. No rescue, no nothing. You apply manipulated, they're just screwed. They just gotta take it. And just those two things alone, being able to guarantee people, like let's say you shoot somebody with some webs, and then you apply this. Well, they're screwed. They can't get it off. They're losing damage for multiple turns in a row, guaranteed. If you use the scroll and then you apply Winded to like a Union Jack, Noir, Rocket Raccoon team, they're definitely dead. I mean, there's nothing they can do anymore. If you exhaust the right people who need a bunch of actions to actually be effective, well, they can't do anything anymore. Pretty much, if you touch them with anything decent utility-wise, and then apply manipulate it, they're done. There's just nothing more they can do in combat. And then, if they have Paragon debuffed you, then, if you're exposed, then they lose their buffs when they get soul fired, assuming, they don't have a Hexen, Jaeger, or Skeptic, which, let's be real, like 90% of teams do on defense. But the other two they can't resist. So, if you're weakened, you'll incap the whole team unless it's like Karuth or something, or somebody for some reason is running a relentless EI, so I don't think it's really that important anymore. And then, Dark Bargain, oh sorry, Dizzy applies Generalized. You can never go wrong with Generalized. Unless you're actually fighting Generalist, then it's rather pointless. And, that's pretty much all I really wanted to say about that item. I really feel like this item is just way too good. Just, I don't know, it's one of those things that doesn't even, like, you could have got it at level 1, and it's still just as good at, like, level 300. Like, its level doesn't matter. And, like, when you have items like that, like Signpost was like that. And the cube is somewhat like that. Because honestly, you mainly have the cube for the utility, not really the damage or the healing amounts. But when you have a scroll like this, and it's just all utility, and it scales forever, like just the same, then that's perfect. And sure, this was also 128 when you bought it by itself, or it came as a gold sale bonus. So most people don't have this. If you have this now, then congratulations. You have the best item in the game, and you better be using it. Because trust me, no matter what, if you start using it now, you'll love it. I think this is honestly the item that's making it so I can win PvP easier than I should. And that's pretty much the extent of what I wanted to talk about. I think I will make a video, or I'll probably just make a post. I don't feel like making another video about this because I don't have any graphics pictures to show. But just like the top trends in PvP over the history of the game. Just talk about different teams and setups that just dominated the meta that I thought would be worth talking about and be fun to, you know, discuss. Because I know a lot of people, we've got people who have joined at random times during the game's life, so not everybody has seen what it was like with, like, Future Foundation Spider-Man was new, and he was just dodging everybody, and no one could, like, stop him. No one really remembers what that's like. Like, I think the only removed buff abilities were, like, Foley's Heart Tickler and Black Widow's Flying Kick. I mean, it was like really limited. Like having Captain America in your team was really good. Protects and counterattacks were that strong. There was no off balance. There was no cornered. You're not really removing buffs from people. I mean, the game was so different. No one remembers Phoenix Cyclops when incapacitation. Well, some of us remember, but incapacitation was like an off balance and cornered and multiple stun that lasted 3 turns. It was insane. But alright, if you've made it through all 36 minutes of me talking about items in the game, then thank you. Today is Valentine's Day, so I'll just try to find something to do for the rest of the day. But thank you for watching, and I sure do hope you have a scroll of Rudamaroth, because you're probably adamantium every season if you do. See ya.